Okay, first game we're going to look at is Aston Villa at home to Chelsea. It's a 3 p.m. kick-off on Saturday afternoon in the Premier League. We'll talk about Villa to begin with. Lost 3-0 at Arsenal last time out. Difficult time for them at the moment. This is another tough game for them at home to Chelsea. Alex McLeish said that he's not worried about relegation, and with 8 points between them and the bottom three, you can see why, because they're not in immediate danger of getting dragged into it. But they are one of the teams beyond the top or the bottom five that kind of could be dragged into it if they sort of don't improve in the next few weeks. So they really could do with a positive 2 or 3 games just to make sure they're not having a very nervous end to the season. As for Chelsea, excellent win in the Champions League at Benfica. I don't think a team's won at Benfica in the Champions League or in Europe generally for quite a while. Di Matteo is possibly a contender now for the full-time role. He's certainly done okay with Chelsea. He's got them into the Champions League quarter-final, sort of pushing towards the semi-final. They're in the FA Cup semi-final. They could do with a Premier League win though. They're 5 points from fourth, and that's still a big ambition for them this season, is to maybe leapfrog Tottenham or Arsenal and get into the Champions League places this season. Prediction wise for this one, I actually think it's going to be the away side that get the points again. I think Villa are very low on confidence, while Chelsea are kind of united for the first time this season really, and really got a good team spirit going on, and I think they'll win this game 3-1. So I'm going for Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 3. Okay, next up we're going to look at Everton at home to West Brom. It's another 3 p.m. kick-off on Saturday afternoon in the Premier League. Talk about Everton to begin with. Now, they're very much enjoying life, enjoying their football in 2012. They're in the FA Cup semi-final. They've also got a great win at Swansea last time out in the Premier League, and this has pushed them in to the top 10. And kind of the rest of their season is kind of centred around Liverpool, really, going against their rivals, because obviously they're playing Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final, and then in the league they're only 2 points behind their rivals. So they've got a genuine chance of finishing 7th in the league if they can finish strongly, and big motivation in that sense for David Moyes' men to get the points this weekend. As for West Brom, they've gone 3 games without a win since they beat Chelsea and went on a good run at the Hawthorns. They are comfortable though. They're 11 points clear of the bottom 3, and top 10 is the aim, although there's lots of teams going for that position, and West Brom will just want to finish strongly, get some momentum for next year. Prediction wise for this one, I actually think it's going to be a score draw. I think Everton might be slightly tired from their FA Cup exploits during the week, whereas West Brom may be due sort of a positive result after three games without a win. So I'm going to go for Everton 1, West Brom 1. So for Fulham at home to Norwich, another 3 p.m. kick-off on Saturday afternoon in the Premier League. We'll talk about Fulham to begin with, and they felt reasonably hard done by on Monday evening. They lost 1-0 to Manchester United at Old Trafford. They felt they should have had a penalty, and kind of that's 3 games, or 3 defeats on the spin even, without scoring for Fulham. So they'll feel like they're on a bit of a bad run, but they'll don't see it as a difficult patch, because before that they won 3 games in succession. They have 8 games to go. They'll really want to finish strongly and maybe get back to winning ways this weekend against Norwich. As for the Canaries, the victory over Wolves last time out was a really big one for them. Obviously they were still quite comfortable in terms of away from the bottom 3, but that win has kind of confirmed it and possibly secured their status in the Premier League for another year, and they're actually closer to 5th, Chelsea in 5th, than they are QPR and 18th. So that's credit to Paul Lambert and his team. This is kind of a contest where there's arguably 2 teams are relatively relaxed in terms of their ambitions for this season. They're comfortable, they can afford to play their football, so it should be an entertaining game. And with that in mind, I'm actually going to go for a 3-2 home win. I think it's going to be as I say, entertaining game, plenty of goals. Norwich will maybe even go ahead in this game. I think they'll play their part in a really good game of football, but in the end I'm going for Fulham 3, Norwich City 2. Okay, next up is another 3 p.m. kick-off on Saturday afternoon in the Premier League. It's Manchester City at home to Sunderland. We'll talk about City to begin with. Obviously they dropped points at Stoke last weekend, and this means that United are now 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. And you'd arguably say that Manchester City now probably need to win all 8 of their remaining games. Obviously that includes a game against Manchester United. They've won all 15 on home soil this season though, which is a really impressive record. And that's really not a time for this to end. They need to get the 3 points at home to Sunderland this weekend, and nothing else will do for Roberto Mancini. As for the Black Cats, they were knocked out of the FA Cup during the week against Everton, so their focus is 100% on the league now. And with terms of their ambitions for the league, they can push for a top 8 finish definitely, and possibly even finish 7th, given Liverpool's demise in recent weeks. So if they finish strongly, they've got a real motivation to get a very, very respectable league position. And considering they could have been relegation candidates a few months ago. That's really impressive for Sunderland and for Martin O'Neill, of course. Prediction wise though, I think home form and just City's general strength going forward, the return of Carlos Tevez, means they'll get the points in this one. So I'm going to go for Manchester City 3, Sunderland 1. Okay, next up we've got Queen's Park Rangers versus Arsenal, another 3 PM kickoff on a busy afternoon in the Premier League this weekend. Queen's Park Rangers, talk about them briefly to begin with. It's never dull for them at the moment. Obviously they beat Liverpool after being 2-0 down the other week, and then most recently lost at Sunderland with Jibril Cisse getting sent off, the second time he's been sent off since arriving at Queen's Park Rangers. And they're 18th in the table, a point adrift of safety, but kind of you just don't know which way it's going to go, and you do expect there'll be plenty of twists and turns for Mark Hughes' men this season. Whether that means they stay up or go down, it really is, it's hit and miss at the moment for them. They've also got Manchester United away after this, so on home soil maybe this is where they will look to get some points against Arsenal, maybe take heart from the Liverpool win and get some points against an Arsenal team that, to be fair, actually are in very good form. And referring to Arsene Wenger's men a little bit more, they've won 7 games on the spin. They're enjoying their football probably more than they have done in quite some time, I think. And the team spirit is there. They've been through some tough times together, this Arsenal team, and now they're going through some better times, and they're really enjoying it. They've got Manchester City after this one, and they've got Chelsea to come before the end of the season. So lots of big games for Arsenal. They want to consolidate that third position. With that in mind, victory will be on sort of their aim this weekend, obviously. And they certainly can't relax in terms of their position in the top 4, because there are some chasing pack capable teams in the chasing pack, and Arsenal just need to keep winning, and there's no signs that they won't do that. So, however, I'm going to go for a draw in this game. I think Queen's Park Rangers, as I said, are unpredictable, but on a home soil I think they'll raise their game. Entertaining game I'm going for. I'm going to go for QPR 2, Arsenal 2. Next up is Wigan at home to Stoke, 3 PM kickoff on Saturday afternoon in the Premier League. Wigan, you can never write them off. They won 2-1 at Liverpool last time out. Roberto Martinez has said they will stay up, and that was a famous day for them at Anfield, and it's given them a real chance to sort of push on and eventually stay up in the Premier League. They've got as good a chance as anyone sort of in that bottom 5. This is a massive game for them though. They really could do with 3 points in this one, because after this they've got Chelsea, Manchester United and Arsenal in the next 3 games. So this is 3 points, and nothing more will probably do for Wigan in this one. Otherwise, after these next 4 games, they could find themselves with a lot to do. As for Stoke, 1-1 versus Manchester City last time out, which is a decent point against the team sort of fighting for the Premier League title. Obviously the highlight of the game possibly was Peter Crouch's wonder strike, really good goal from him, and he's been a good signing for them this season. They must stay motivated, I think, Stoke, as their main aim for the rest of the season, because they're not going to go down. They're probably not going to get into Europe again, but 7th or 8th position in the table is achievable, especially considering sort of Liverpool's form. So they've got plenty to play for. They just need to make sure they stay up for it and keep fighting for some points, because they've had a very long season, Tony Pulis' team. Prediction wise for this one, I think it's be typical of Wigan if they sort of went to Anfield and won and then lost at home to Stoke. So I'm going to go for the away side to nick the points. I'm going to go for Wigan 1, Stoke 2. Okay, the final game on Saturday is also a 3 PM kickoff. It's between Wolves and Bolton. Well, a really important game at the bottom of the Premier League table. We'll talk about Wolves to begin with. They are rock bottom at the moment. They lost at Norwich last time out after taking the lead, and they really are in trouble. They're 4 points adrift, which is quite a big margin considering how close it's been at the bottom this year. One thing I will say about Wolves though is that their team spirit can't be questioned. They do seem a group that are really determined to succeed together under Terry Connor, but that alone isn't enough. Obviously they need Premier League points, they need goals, and that just isn't happening for them at the moment. As for Bolton, football still seems kind of a sort of playing second fiddle, of course, to Fabrice Muamba and him getting himself back to full health hopefully this week. It's been an emotional win versus Blackburn in the Premier League last time out. It was a tremendous atmosphere at the Reebok Stadium, and kind of think everyone in football was pleased to see Bolton win that one, because they've had a tough time, and that was kind of a bit of a release from sort of the tough times they've had in the last couple of weeks. They did lose in the FA Cup at Tottenham though, but this just means they can focus on the league, and that's obviously their main priority, and this is a very crucial game for them in terms of their bid to stay in the top flight. Prediction wise, I'm actually going to go for a narrow home win. I think Wolves are obviously due a win. That doesn't mean they deserve one or they will get one, but I think they may be due a win, whereas Bolton have just had such a tiring 2 or 3 weeks. They've got the emotional win against Blackburn, they've had a game against Tottenham during the week, I think this is maybe a step too far on the current run, but I still think Bolton are more likely to stay up than Wolves. But on this occasion, I think it's going to be Wolves 1, Bolton 0. Okay, moving on to Sunday's fixtures, we've got a 1:30 kick-off between Newcastle and Liverpool. Talk about Newcastle to begin with. They're back on track really after an inconsistent run of form. They've won their last couple of games against Norwich and against West Brom. This means they're 6th, they're level on points with Chelsea in 5th, and they're comfortably 6th as well. They're kind of 8 points clear of Liverpool, so their aim is looking up rather than down, and they can still have sort of outside ambitions for a top 4 finish. Top 5 is probably more realistic, but they can still keep pushing for that 4th spot, and that's credit to them. And then Papa Bouba Cisse, they've kind of got a player that's scored 3 goals in his last 2 games and is proving a really good signing for them. So all good for Alan Pardew and his team at the moment. The same can't be said for Liverpool, especially in terms of their league form. They've lost at home to Wigan last time out, and this was their 5th league defeat in 6 games, which is a ridiculous record, and they're sort of bottom of the form table, and it's really just not happening for Liverpool at the moment. And a couple of more poor results, and they're going to be in the bottom half of the table, because there's some teams capable of winning games sort of in the middle and towards the sort of the bottom half of the table. So Liverpool needs to be very careful, because if not, in 2 or 3 weeks they could be 12th or 13th in the Premier League, and that would be almost embarrassing for Liverpool considering the amount of money they've spent and sort of the history of the club. Just very quickly on Kenny Dalglish has said that his players are tired, and that might be why they've dropped points, but I think as soon as you say something like that, you're giving the players an excuse to maybe put in a poor performance. They say, well, our manager says we're tired, so we're tired. I don't think that's the right thing for Dalglish to do, but they'll look to bounce back in this game this weekend. They will do that to an extent. I think they'll get a draw at Newcastle. I actually think both teams will shut each other out in this one. So I'm going to go for Newcastle 0, Liverpool 0. Okay, next up we've got the Super Sunday fixture in this weekend's Premier League fixtures. We've got Tottenham versus Swansea. You talk about Tottenham to begin with. Obviously progressed to the FA Cup over Bolton during the week, but focused now obviously back on the league. And in that sense, Harry Redknapp he said he believes his team will overtake Arsenal and get that third position back. But probably priority really for Tottenham has got to be making sure they hold on to 4th position, because Chelsea are only 5 points behind, and obviously Chelsea are doing okay at the moment, certainly got some momentum behind them. And you say that this game at home to Swansea is definitely a must-win for Spurs. As for Swansea, they had a run of 3 successive wins, which came to an end at home to Everton last time out. They'll want to go again, dust themselves down and finish strongly, because they probably deserve to finish strongly given the way they performed in the top flight this year. They'll play their natural game at White Hart Lane, and it's the hope that they can get a point or possibly 3 to sort of aid their bid for a top 10 finish. I think it's going to be Spurs that get the points though. Swansea may play their part in an entertaining game. They might even take the lead or equalise in this one to give Tottenham a bit of a fright, but in the end I think Spurs will get the points, so I'm going for Tottenham 3, Swansea 1. Okay, the final game to look at this week is Blackburn versus Manchester United. Blackburn have been kind of dragged back into trouble after losing at Bolton last time out. Not they were out of trouble before that, but they were 6 points clear of the bottom 3, and that gap is now 3 points, which is still credit to Steve Keane and his team given the position they've been in at some stages of the season. Obviously last time they played Manchester United in the league, they won at Old Trafford, and they'd love another bonus 3 points in this one, because if they can do that, you do start to wonder whether they really can pull away from the bottom 3 and stay up, which would be a tremendous achievement, as say, given the position they've been in earlier in the campaign. As for Manchester United, they're top of the league going into this one. They're 3 points clear, and this gap could obviously be closed by Manchester City by the time this one gets underway. But United will thrive under the pressure. They played last Monday. After City had played, they did beat Fulham, but only by 1-0. They probably would like to win games a bit more comfortably, but the 3 points is the main thing. And with Queen's Park Rangers and Wigan to come after this, they'll be aiming for 3 wins in the next 3 games, and sort of relatively comfortable ones at that. Prediction-wise, I think it is United that will get the points. I think Blackburn will work them hard. The atmosphere at Ewood Park is a lot better these days, and I think it could be an entertaining game on Monday evening, but I think Sir Alex Ferguson's men will nick the points, so I'm going for Blackburn 1, Manchester United 2.